I'm on the quest to make the perfect winter coffee shop menu. We're gonna be making a bunch of different syrups, and I'm gonna even show you how to make them so you can have delicious winter coffee drinks at home. Let's get started. So let's walk through our menu here, see if you can read my handwriting. So there's a couple syrups that I know are incredible, that I have already been drinking all winter long. The first one is a Rosemary Vanilla. It's delicious and it's incredible. I'm gonna show you how to make it. The next one is a juniper latte. I've not made this one, but I know it's a popular one at Starbucks and it should be super easy. The next one is a ginger molasses or a gingerbread cookie. I've also not made that one, but I love a ginger syrup and I think with a couple extra things, that's gonna be delicious. The next one is Pear. And now this one is gonna be the one that's a bit more of an experiment. We're gonna try a couple different things. That one's probably gonna be a bit longer. We'll do a couple different experiments and see where we land on Pear. But I know I want Pear involved some way, somehow. I love pears. I think they're my favorite fruit. And I've been dying to figure out a way to put them into coffee some way, somehow. I feel like I've had a lot of single origin coffees that have kind of had that peary flavor note to it. So I feel like it's gonna pair really well with coffee, and I've just not hardly seen pear paired with coffee. So we're gonna try that, and we're gonna try it in a bunch of different ways. And by a bunch of different ways, it's really just variation of one way, and that is a cheong. And I'll tell you what a cheong is while I hack through these pears with a plastic knife. A cheong is a Korean method of making syrups. Literally all you do is you take fruit of any kind and you put them with an equal amount of sugar and then let it sit, and then the sugar pulls out juices and flavors from the fruit, making it into a delicious syrup. The reason you do this is to avoid putting it on the stove. This makes it just a super bright, natural, clean tasting syrup rather than me putting these with heat on the stove. It's gonna alter the flavor. It's gonna kind of get a mulled pear flavor, which is not what I want on a cooked pear flavor. I want a really crisp, clean pear flavor. So that's why we're doing a cheong. It's super easy, and it's my favorite way to make a fruit syrup. And really all you need to do is chop up your fruit into pretty small pieces. The smaller the better. It's gonna give it more surface area. Obviously I'm struggling because I have a plastic knife. And then I usually weigh all of these out. I just find that's the best way to do it, to make sure you know exactly how much sugar you need. It doesn't need to be exact, just enough to get a good amount of surface area for the sugar to pull out all these delicious pear juices. I'm doing a pear medley today, so I did Camas and Stark Crimson. I just looked at it, I forgot what it's called. These are a bit more unique than a Bartlett pear. You can use a Bartlett pear. I just kind of like the unique flavor that these have. A bit more depth to them than kind of a Bartlett. I like doing a blend of pears. It just kind of gives it a more depth of flavor than a single pear. You don't need to bother peeling the pears either. The peels are just gonna add more flavor. Just make sure you wash them before you make this. I don't think I'm gonna end up needing these pears. I'm gonna give this a little shake. And then I'm going to add 336 grams of sugar. So you're basically just matching the weight of the pear. It's gonna seem like a lot at first when you first put it in, but once the juices and oils pull out of the pear, it ends up into a syrup consistency. 327, close enough. Then I'm gonna do my best to give this a stir with the tools that I have. I might just give it a shake. Okay, that looks a bit more incorporated. And then I want to try and do a couple different variations of this cheong. And I want to add some herbs into the mix with this. So I'm gonna do maybe 100 grams out of here. 146 is perfect. Then I'm gonna add some rosemary into this. I'm just gonna I don't want too much. I don't want it to be overly strong of a rosemary flavor. If you're watching our winter menu series, you've already seen rosemary, so I don't want it to be too repetitive, but I just want to give this a shot. Maybe a couple sprigs more. That feels good. Basically, the idea behind where I got this idea from is a Bon Appetit recipe for a red wine rosemary pear pie. Absolutely delicious. My favorite pie on this earth. So I wanted to try that a little bit. So this one is going to have rosemary. And then we're going to do one more. Two more, actually, I think. So we'll disperse another 150. Then this one, I'm going to add sage. So I think, honestly, it's going to add a really savory note to it. I'm just going to put one. This is really potent, and I don't want the delicate pear flavor because pear is kind of a back note flavor. It's not overly strong. I want the pear to be the main course, and I want the sage to just kind of linger in the back. So I think I'm just going to do one. I'm gonna smack it in my palm, kind of release some of those oils. I think I'll tear it up too. We'll do just a little bit so it doesn't overpower the pear. And then our last one, I'm gonna disperse another 150. This will be our last 150, so everything will be even. It's already pulling some sugar out. 143 is perfect. All right, so this is our control. This is just pear and sugar. And then this one, I'm gonna throw in a couple cardamom pods, probably just like 3, since again, kind of like the sage, cardamom is very strong, but I do think it's going to pair well with pear. Need to stop saying that. So we'll crush those up, put those in, and I think that's going to add a bit of a bright floralness to it. I've seen a lot of people do like a spiced pear syrup. Since we've done a lot of other spiced things, kind of wanted to do something a little bit more floral and fresh and herbal, which is why we're going the pear cheong route. So to recap, these are our 4 pear cheongs for our coffee syrup. This is our control, so just pear and sugar. I don't know if you can see, but it's already starting to pull some goodness out of there. This one is our pear cardamom. That's also pulling some goodness out of it. Pear sage, and finally, pear rosemary. So we're gonna let these sit for about 24 hours, see what they feel like and taste like, and see if we have any winners on our hands. It's been a couple days actually, and as you can see, our pear cheongs have syruped up deliciously and beautifully. I know they might look a little brown. That's just the pear oxidizing. Perfectly normal. See, we got some good yield out of that. So now it's time to put these into some espresso drinks. I tasted all these too, and they taste amazing. These herbal ones have just a hint of the herb, didn't overpower the pear. So that's super exciting. And now we've got to figure out a way to use these in some espresso drinks. So the main drink, as I pull my espresso, the main drink is going to be super simple. It's going to be my espresso, which I'm using our house blend today, but I think a single origin would be nice in this. So it'll be that espresso and this pear syrup. Super simple and straightforward. So now I just got to decide which version of this I want to do, and I'm leaning towards the sage one. I think that's going to be nice. Have a fun, unique pepperiness to it. Oh, it smells so good. And this smells like the holidays. It's delicious. All right, I'm gonna strain, and I think I'm gonna do an ounce of this cheong. I really want that flavor to come through with pear being such a delicate flavor. I'm actually thinking of 1.5 ounces. So it might be a bit sweeter, but I want that pear to come through. So we're gonna do 1.5 ounces, I think. So that'll be about a 1-to-1 ratio to our espresso, roughly. And that's perfect because that's just about the amount of yield we got out of that cheong. All right, it just smells so peppery and floral, but pear-esque from that pear. It just smells so floral. I wish you could smell it. It smells so good. All right, we'll add our espresso. And then before I shake, I'm gonna get a chilled glass prepared with a little pear wedge. We're just gonna do an ultra thin little wedge like that. That's perfect. This is ready to shake. All right, ideally I'd throw this through a fine mesh strainer, but that's dirty, so I'm just gonna do this. Then we'll put our little pear wedge right there for a little bit of an aromatic. That's kind of pretty. I think the whole vibe of this drink is to kind of have this light airiness, kind of this fresh crispness. Since pear, that's kind of, I didn't really want to weigh this down with other ingredients, and it should let the pear shine through a bit. So let's give this a try. That's sweet. But then the back end hits you with espresso. It's cold and it's refreshing, I will say that. It's hard that pear is really fighting. And I mean, I wouldn't say the sage is overly strong too, just pear. There's a reason they use it as a sweetener in a lot of juices because it just loses its flavor pretty fast. And that's definitely happening here. You do get that aromatic sage though, so that's nice. I think the flavor's there, it's just a little sweet. But the reason I did so much of that syrup in there is so that the pear flavor would come through. So I'd be a little concerned that downing the syrup would also reduce the pear flavor. Because like, I just still don't think that this pear translates into the syrup, which it should. Again, I think it's just such a delicate flavor. Like I almost would wonder if you would want pear juice instead. I'm still thinking about it. I mean, it's not bad, but it's just not what I wanted. It's not that bright kind of tea-like refreshing pear drink that I was hoping this would be. It's a little disappointing, but I'm not gonna say I'm overly surprised. The sage is nice in it though, so that's the silver lining. I'm gonna try something weird. Don't look at me weird for this. Let's try this over sparkling water. That's one of my favorite things to do with these espresso syrup drinks. Ideally, I wouldn't do raspberry nectarine. That's just what I had. I do plain club soda, even tonic water. I think this flavor is gonna mess with this pear too much, but that's all I had. Now that just tastes like raspberry nectarine. I kind of figured that'd be a failed experiment. Yeah, now the pear just tastes like generic sweetener. Well, if you try this, maybe you'll have better luck with club soda or tonic, but overall I would say pear so far is just not working out. Honestly, I'm at a bit of a loss for this next test. That was kind of my one idea. I was avoiding milk because I felt like it would be lost in a milk in like a standard latte format, which I still believe, but for scientific purposes, I'm gonna try it out. Just to see, I really don't think it's gonna turn out to be anything worth doing. But we'll brew our espresso and try it out. I think for our latte, I'm gonna try the pear cardamom. I feel like I love a good cardamom latte, so we're gonna go that route. It's hard, it smells so flavorful, but it's just not. But I'm gonna do 1 ounce of syrup into our cup. We'll get 8 ounces of milk for proper ratios and give it a steam. I don't think it's gonna curdle the milk. We're about to find out. Okay, not confident in my milk at all, but I never am. All right, let's add in our espresso. Actually, my milk might be okay. I'm still getting the hang of latte art, so don't come at me. Yeah, terrible. That's hot, that's hot. Okay, we'll do another little pear garnish, even though it's in a paper cup, and we'll give this pear latte a try. I'm not confident in this at all. But the milk did not curdle, so that's good news. It's not overly pear still, but I feel like it's more pear than the ice drink, which is a little surprising to me. Usually as things heat up, they kind of lose their flavor, so I'm a little shocked by that. But I need to drink this a bit more. It's still not a strong pear flavor by any means. No, it's really not there at all. Honestly, the cardamom comes through, but the pear, it's just not there. Especially if you compare it to like a fresh pear eating it, it's nowhere close. Which is just frustrating. I feel like there's such a disconnect between like the fresh pear and the syrup, even though it's literally, I mean, you can't get any fresher or more clear natural than a cheong. It's a little frustrating that it didn't work out. Yeah, I'm drinking this more and I'm still getting nothing. Not that it's bad, it's just, it doesn't taste like pear. It honestly just tastes sweet. It doesn't really taste like anything, which is very unfortunate. I've been wanting pear to work with coffee for forever. It's a little sad that it hasn't worked out. I'm still adamant to find a use and a way to flavor coffee with pear. But so far, everything I've tried, I just can't get it to work out well. If you have any ideas, let me know in the comments. I feel like this is a combination that should work. If you have any ideas of what to do to make this pairing work well, let me know in the comments. This is something I'm probably going to continue to explore and I just want to crack it and figure it out. It feels like a case that can't be figured out. So I think the only other thing I'd try at this point is just straight up pear puree, because that'll give the pear flavor, but not add any of the sugar, which I really don't think you would need to add sugar since pears are so sweet. And if you do need to add sugar, you don't need 1.5 ounces of it, maybe just 1/4 to 1/2 of an ounce. So that's almost what I would try next. if I was really gonna try and figure this one out, but that's enough for right now. Let's make a rosemary vanilla syrup. I'm gonna get a 1.5 cups of water heating on our stove. If you wanna make this at home, follow along. It's super easy. Then I'll take, I would say, for about 1.5 cups, that much rosemary. So this is kind of 3 sprigs. And then we can just, if you don't know how to, you know, quickly do rosemary, just do that. Boom, you got all your sprigs. Thanks Food Network for teaching me that as a teenager. So we'll get all of this ready to go. It already smells so fragrant. It smells so good. You know what? We need a little more. I think honestly 2 sprigs more. I want this to be very rosemary forward. You're just gonna give this rosemary a rough chop. Doesn't have to be super fine, super even, just something to get the oils expressed and get a little more surface area. I don't have the proper equipment or tools, so I'm gonna attempt to do some rough cuts with, that's actually not terrible, a plastic knife. I went to film this and realized I really need to buy some cutting boards and actual knives. But anyways, we'll make do. So as you can see, I'm not doing anything, you know, super fine, just something to get some surface area and, you know, a little bit of oil extraction, like I said. Don't need to be picky with it, just a quick chop. Perfect, that should be good enough for what I'm able to do, at least. Then I'm just gonna slide this right into the boiling water. And then we'll add in our pure vanilla extract. I'm just gonna do a capful. It's probably like a teaspoon. You don't want the vanilla to be overly powering. You want the rosemary to shine through. So don't want to overdo it with the vanilla. But for about 1.5 cups, a teaspoon's perfect. That's already smelling so good, and it's not even steeped yet. Then I'm gonna add a pretty heavy pinch of salt. We really want this to be flavorful, and that's gonna help draw out a good amount of flavor. You should be salting all of your simple syrups. Give this a little swirl, and then I'm gonna let this simmer for about 10 minutes. Let that rosemary steep into this water. Notice I didn't add my sugar yet. We're gonna do that at the very end. I found adding it now and simmering that sugar for 10 minutes gives it a bit of a caramely note to the sugar. You're caramelizing and cooking the sugars. So we're gonna add it in at the last second to avoid that, so that the rosemary flavor is forward and super clean and fresh and clear. Our rosemary vanilla water has been stewing for about 10 minutes. You can see it's got some good color and flavor out of there. Can't smell it, but it smells good too. So we're just gonna add in equal parts, so 1.5 cups of water, or sugar, I'm sorry. Then we'll stir that. I think my ratio got off, or maybe it's not dissolved yet. Then we're gonna stir this and then bring it up to heat just so the sugar can properly dissolve. All right, I think that's good. I think that's just bubbling. That is turned off, so I will get my syrup bottle ready. And then I'm just gonna put it through a strainer so we don't get all that rosemary in there. Perfect. Always makes such an interesting color, but I love it. This syrup makes delicious hot or cold lattes. It's my favorite syrup in the winter. It's just herbal and floral, yet you have that vanilla to kind of round it out and make it, you know, it's just perfectly balanced. It's so good. You need to make this right now before you even finish watching this video. Get in your kitchen and make this. Let's make a gingerbread syrup. So we'll start by adding 2 cups of water into a pot and we'll get that heated up. Then I'm gonna start with some ginger. Honestly, I don't think we need that much. I think just kind of like this size, a palm-sized nub is gonna be perfect. This goes a lot faster if you have a peeler as well, obviously. So I'm gonna chop this up into discs. Normally, like if you have a grater, a cheese grater, I just grate it on that. It works fantastic. But since I don't have that, I'm just gonna cut this into small little discs. You think we can smash these? Yeah, if you just smash it with your palm, that's gonna release so much oils. And if you cut it vertically, if you didn't know this with ginger, if you cut it vertically, since all the threads go vertically, it just smashes super easy. My hands are gonna smell like ginger for days. Gingerbread needs spices, so that's what we're gonna add in. Got a ton of them. And we're gonna do all the classic spices you can think of with a little bit of a twist. This is anise seeds. We're gonna crush those in just a little bit. Don't want it to taste fully like licorice, but it does add a nice, unique depth. Same with cardamom pods. I'm just gonna do like 2 or 3. I don't want it to be overpowering, but it does add a nice aromatic floralness. Allspice is a huge one. We're gonna want a decent amount of allspice. Probably 2 pinches worth. But the main ones are going to be cinnamon and nutmeg. So I'm gonna do a half stick for this much. Just break that up, get that in there. Please use whole spices whenever you can. It's gonna be way better than the powdered. It's just gonna taste way better, especially when the syrup is so spice forward. Like fresh nutmeg, world's better than any spice you're gonna find. Let's grind this up. We'll do a pretty hefty dose of nutmeg. We want it to be pretty nutmeg forward. Oh, and we need clove. Can't forget clove. That would be the other like trifecta of 3 spices that are important in here that you want to make sure you can get in here. But pretty much any kind of warm spice you can think of is what you're going to want to put in this. I think we want even more nutmeg than that. We want a pretty heavy dosage. Then lastly, clove. Going to do a pretty decent, probably about that much of clove. I feel like that's kind of the main ingredient of a ginger cookie. Okay, we'll give this a stir, get everything incorporated, and then we're gonna let this simmer for probably about 10 minutes. We want everything to blend and steep and get delicious. I have not made the syrup yet before, so this is a bit of an experiment, but it's always something I've wanted to try. I love a just straight ginger syrup. So this is pretty much building on a just plain ginger syrup and making it a bit more holiday, festive themed. Gosh, that does not smell like ginger. Okay, I smelled some spices now. I'm not smelling a bunch of spices, but I think this has just got to stew for a little bit. Well, while this is simmering, I'm going to get the sugar parts of the syrup ready. So we're doing a 1-to-1 ratio of water to sugar. And that sweetener is not going to be full sugar. It's going to be half molasses. I don't want to go full molasses because it's just... I've actually never had full molasses, like straight molasses. Yep, that's molasses. That's so rich. So we'll need 2 cups of sweetener for this total. I didn't want to do 2 full cups of molasses. 1, because it's expensive, and 2, I think that's just going to overpower the ginger and just be too much molasses. So I'm going to do 1 cup of molasses and 1 cup of sugar. I think that's going to balance things out. If you're saying to yourself, wait, couldn't you have just done brown sugar? 100%, you totally could. You are going to get a bit more of a natural molasses flavor with using real molasses than brown sugar. But that's all brown sugar is molasses and white sugar. So if that's all you have and you don't want to buy molasses, just use all brown sugar. And that's going to give you enough molasses flavor to taste gingerbready. Get our white sugar measured out. I never realized I say that word weird until you all mentioned it in the comments. But, you know, that's what happens here in Michigan is we say things weird. And I can't figure out how to say it differently, so you're stuck with it. I'm kind of eyeballing this because I don't have a measuring spoon. We'll just bring that up to 2 cups on our marker to match our water. Gosh, it's so thick. Okay, let's stir this up. I think I'm going to be so shocked when I find out I made brown sugar. This is going to be fun to clean. Man, it's clumping like no business. But I guess that makes sense. Brown sugar. That's kind of good enough. We're going to incorporate that into our syrup mixture. Blended and melded together. I'm okay if the sugar cooks a bit with the simple syrup. I think that's going to be okay with this one. I'm not going for a bright, clear flavor. So if it gets a little cooked sugar flavor, I actually think that's a good thing. Wow, that is very molasses heavy. I can smell it from up here. Let's see how this is all melting and incorporating here. It smells like a molasses gingerbread, ginger snap cookie, which is what we're going for. Do not forget a heavy dose of salt. This is going to bring out all these flavors. You should be salting your simple syrups. I will say it a million times. I'll say it every time I make a syrup. Salt your simple syrups. Smelling it, I'm almost tempted to put a little more spice in there. I don't feel like it's gingery or spicy enough. Not spicy, but spiced enough. I guess let's taste it first, and then I can actually see here. It doesn't taste as molassesy as it smells, but it does taste more molassesy than using brown sugar, I think. But I do feel like it needs more ginger and spice. And everything nice. Okay, I got a little bit of the ginger kick, actually. But I do think it needs a smidge more spice. Let's do definitely some more allspice. Wish I could grind this up a bit, but I can't. And then a bit more clove. Yeah, a bit more clove. A couple more pods of cardamom. I think that's going to bring a bright floral note. That's not really there. Then a couple, just like one shell more of cinnamon. Just going to break this outer shell off. Do a couple shavings. Okay, I'm going to let that simmer for just a second. Get a little more flavor out of it. All right, I think that's had enough time to steep. We'll take it off the heat. Smells like a gingerbread cookie. In a good way, though. This is, feel like, not gonna go well. Nope. There's a ton of stuff in the syrup, so it's hard to get it all out and not have it go everywhere with this tiny strainer. You know what? Not too bad. Well, that made a great mess, but I'm excited to try this in a latte. I feel like I'd only want to put this in a hot latte. But I'm sure you could try it iced when you make this at home, which I hope you do. And put in the comments, tell me how it is, because I'd be curious how it would be in an iced latte. You know what the delicious thing I made before? I forgot we did this. There's a video on this. We made windmill cookie lattes. We steeped milk with those windmill cookies. I know they're like a Midwestern thing, so you may not know what I'm talking about. But they're kind of like a almondy, nutmeggy, spiced cookie. And that was absolutely delicious. But nonetheless, let's make a latte with this. But anyways, let's make a latte with this. And I'm going to use our house blend for the espresso. This is just going to be a good balanced espresso. Some chocolate tasting notes to it, really balanced, just a good standard cup of coffee. That's what we're going to want with this gingerbread syrup, I think. We're gonna make a latte with this. So while the espresso's brewing, I'm gonna measure out an ounce of our gingerbread syrup. That is just beautifully thick and delicious and molassesy, obviously. So I'm gonna add my espresso right in. I really want that syrup to meld with the espresso, kind of melt a little bit since it's a little thicker than normal. Then we'll load up 8 ounces of milk and steam. That espresso and syrup already smells super good. I think this is going to be a home run. I think I might have overdone the milk on this. It's so hard to get good milk on this machine. I think my milk actually looks decent enough to get some latte art out of this. Barring my latte art skills, that is. Let's pour this. Okay, the moment of truth. That was not great milk and terrible technique. But either way, I have a gingerbread syrup latte. It's got real molasses, fresh ginger, and then it's steeped with all those delicious fresh spices, cinnamon, clove, nutmeg, all those delicious things that makes gingerbread so good. So let's give this a try. That is actually, that's really good. It's got that dark molasses flavor that you just don't get from brown sugar. So I know I said earlier you can use brown sugar, and you can, but you can really taste that dark, just molasses flavor in the back end. But you still get that fresh bite of the ginger, and then just subtly those spices. It's really good. It's sweet, but not overly sweet. But it literally almost tastes like I'm taking a bite out of a like molasses cookie. That might be one of the best syrups I've ever made. That's good. This is perfect on a winter menu. Like absolutely perfect. You've got that. It's just everything you want in a winter latte. It's dark, it's spiced, it's got that caramely molassesy note because from the molasses again. If you're a coffee shop watching this, you just pair this with just a little mini disc of a gingerbread cookie, or sprinkle this with nutmeg or cinnamon or clove or any of those ground spices, and you've got a winner for your winter menu. That is dang good. The flavor is just so complex, so complex. It's so layered. It's just layered perfectly from all the different elements of the syrup. That's good. This test was an absolute success. There's actually, I'm gonna put a link to the recipe to the syrup so you can make it at home. It's not impossible to make delicious coffee at home, and that's what we're dedicated at, is teaching you how to do that here at Battle Creek Coffee Roasters. so you can skip the line at Starbucks and make even better coffee for way cheaper at home. And this is something you're gonna wanna make over the holidays this season. So check that link in the description. Now we're gonna make a spiced cranberry syrup. So the base of that is cranberry juice, 100%, not from concentrate, no other berries in it, straight unsweetened, make sure it's unsweetened, cranberry juice. We're gonna throw that into a pan, or pot, I should say. I need my spices. Look at these treasure trove of spices. These are all whole, non-ground spices. It's gonna be way better. These are juniper berries. We're gonna save those for our next syrup. The main two spices we're gonna want in here, oh, it smells so good, is cinnamon. So we're gonna do a light crush on the cinnamon stick. I'm not making a ton of syrup, so probably gonna do about half a stick. And then the next core spice is clove. Just gonna do a little palmful. You can really eyeball this and just kind of put in whatever spices you want and kind of do it to your taste. So I think I'm gonna do a little bit of allspice. Just a couple little pods, not too much. Just want that to be a hint in the background. And then nutmeg. I didn't think through how I'm gonna grate this. Gonna try and do this on a pan. Just get a little bit of a shave. That's actually not the worst thing I've ever done. This is my first time using fresh nutmeg and it smells amazing, so it will not be my last. I get why Alton Brown always says to use fresh nutmeg. This smells so good. You know what, that smells really good. I'm just gonna do a little bit more than normal. It's pretty fragrant. Then I think that's all we're gonna do for this, except I almost forgot. I'm gonna throw an orange peel or two in here. I don't want this to be cranberry orange, but a couple peels do really give this just a little bit of a spice and a zip, just a little zing. That's the word, a zing. So I'm just gonna do probably 2 shavings. This is almost leaning into kind of like a wassail vibe. You could even add apple cider to this, do half apple cider, half cranberry. That'd probably be really good. But either way, I'm gonna let this simmer for about 10 minutes so everything can infuse and that cranberry juice can reduce down a little bit, and then we'll add our sugar in. The other thing you could add into here is a smidge of vanilla. I wouldn't do too much, but I do think that would be delicious. But I'm not gonna do that here since we've got vanilla in other spots on this winter menu that we're making, which by the way, this is another syrup in our series of winter syrups that we're on the journey on right now. So if you wanna see more of those, like, comment, subscribe. We've got a bunch of winter spice syrups and other winter coffee drinks that you can make at home, and we're gonna show you how to do it. You could also make this with fresh cranberries if you have those too. Just basically kind of crush up some cranberries and put them in the same amount of water. That might even be even better than, you know, store-bought cranberry juice, but, you know, use what you got. Okay, my syrup's about to burn, so let's add in some sugar. I burned it, so don't go this far. It's a train wreck. I waited like an extra 2 seconds. All right, I'm pulling this off the heat. This is a disaster. Gonna add in a little smidge of water. Well, my heat was too high, so don't do what I did. But I'll show you the process either way. Is once it's done simmering, add in your sugar. Again, watch your pot. Make sure it doesn't, you know, turn out and burn your cranberries and your spices. But we'll throw in our sugar, whisk it to dissolve, then strain it back into our bottle. And you'll see we lost quite a bit of liquid, which is kind of what we wanted. We wanted that cranberry to reduce. You know what, I'm gonna taste it to see. Might not be terrible. You know what, it actually doesn't taste burnt, so it's okay. But again, watch it, make sure it doesn't reduce too much. It's got a nice fruitiness. It tastes like winter. It's got the cranberry, the spices. It's warm and spiced, yet sweet and berry from the cranberry. It's delicious. Practical use cases for this, you're not going to want to put this into milk-based coffee drinks. It will curdle. You can go ahead and try it if you want, but I'm just going to tell you right now, it is going to curdle your milk. But what I love to make with this syrup is a Americano spritzer. It's a shot of espresso, an ounce of the syrup, shake that and pour that over sparkling or tonic water. It's delicious, it's bright and refreshing. Great in the winter if you want something different than a warm latte. It's delicious. Let's make a juniper berry syrup for your next latte. So we're gonna start with 350 milliliters of water. You can scale this up or down to whatever you want it to be. And then it's honestly really simple. We're just gonna add juniper berries to this. I was able to find juniper berries at a local market here in my city. If you're not, I'm sure you can probably order them online. This is about as much as I got from a local market, so it's probably maybe a 1/4 cup, and we're just gonna drop it into our water and let that simmer for a little bit. We're also gonna add a pinch of salt because every simple syrup needs salt. All we're gonna do is we're gonna let this come to a boil. It already smells so woodsy and piney, with a hint of berry in the back end. I know this is a popular latte at Starbucks. This is gonna be way cheaper than Starbucks, and you can make it at home, and it's gonna taste just as good, if not better. But I've never had the one from Starbucks. And I don't know if I've ever had a juniper berry, but they smell delicious. It smells like I'm walking through a nice wintry pine forest on the way to get a Christmas tree and cut down a Christmas tree. And I'll just stop selling this to you right there. Although it's actually really tempting to go grab a couple of pine needles. But since I've never made the syrup, we're just gonna do the juniper berries. I do think you could experiment with this and add a couple of other things. A touch of vanilla. I'm not going to do that. I don't think I want to go that route with this one. You could maybe go rosemary. That's going to add to the kind of savory wood piney vibe. But either way, I'm just going to keep this straight juniper berry. And we're going to simmer this for 10, I'm going to say honestly a little bit closer to 15 minutes to really extract that flavor. I'll let that go and I'll see you in a little bit. This mixture's been sitting for about 15 minutes. I'm going to add in sugar. Now stir to dissolve. You could also throw in a citrus peel in here too. That might bring out some of these citrusy notes that are already in there. But we're going to keep this straight here and strain this into a jar. Kind of hard to tell what color this is. I'm curious. Okay, just not any exciting color at all. I think you could even probably give these a little bit of a squeeze, a little bit more of those oils out of there, but I don't think you necessarily need to do that. And there's our juniper berry latte. Since I've never tried this before, I'm gonna throw this in a latte and try this out. All right, let's get our espresso brewing. I'm pulling a shot of our Junco blend. It's our winter blend. So it's our Guatemalan Sumatra and a smidge of our Shikiso. It is delicious, and it's kind of got this florally, woodsy spice notes to it, so it's going to pair very well with this juniper syrup. While this espresso is brewing, I'm going to ask you to like, comment, and subscribe. We appreciate you watching. It really means the world. And we're going to continue to be making these coffee videos, trying to help you make delicious coffee at home to skip the line at Starbucks and save a ton of money and make delicious coffee. I think I'm actually going to make this as a cortado. So that means we only need 4 ounces of milk. I think this is going to help the syrup shine a bit better than a 10-ounce latte. And then it gives us something a little bit different on our one-tier menu, which we are creating right here on YouTube. So make sure you subscribe to see that. All right. Let's not forget to add our syrup to the espresso. We're going to do 3/4 ounce. Normally I do an ounce in lattes. I think that's going to be a good medium in a cortado to not be overly sweet, but still have a good punch of flavor. Let me try the syrup first, actually. Interesting. I feel like the flavor's not going to be overly strong, but we will see it here in a second. Yeah, we're not getting latte art. Terrible foam. Anyways, this is a juniper syrup cortado. Or did I make a cappuccino? I did. I made a cappuccino. I'm stupid. Well, juniper syrup cappuccino. Let's try this. I think this will be good, though. It's not too sweet, so that's good. I'm just trying to find the juniper, and I'm not finding it, so I was right with my concerns. Like, you can get a hint of it in the back end, but I wanted that juniper flavor to be a little bit stronger. I mean, it's still good. I'm still going to drink it and enjoy it, but it's not overly juniper forward, which is surprising because, you know, judging by the color, it feels like it's steeped enough of that juniper berry flavor. So I think what I would do differently when making this juniper berry syrup is to double the amount of juniper berries. I don't think I had enough in there. I think you need way more than you think. They're just probably not a super strong aromatic flavor. So I think you need a ton in there. Honestly, I think that's it. I think that would have made the syrup perfect. I just didn't buy enough. Or should have made less, either way. Our milk didn't curdle though, which that's good. I was a little worried with the berry, it would curdle. Overall, I wouldn't say this is a fail, but I don't think we quite hit that mark. And I don't think I'm gonna film the rest of it for our winter menu. It's because I don't think it would make it anyways. And I don't wanna go back to the store and buy more juniper berries. But maybe next year we'll come back to this one and try again. I think I'm more interested in experimenting with a pine needle latte. But anyways, I digress. I'm gonna go drink this. Okay, now that I've tried a million different flavors, it's time to dial in our final winter menu. So I'm just gonna go across the list and unfortunately cross out the ones that didn't work. Unfortunately, we have to cross out pear, which is really sad. And at least for right now, I think it could have worked with a bit more dialing in, but I don't think we need it in this lineup. We're gonna cross out. So that leaves us with our 2 core latte flavors being the Rosemary Vanilla and Gingerbread. That gives us hot or iced on either of those. Oh, our Cranberry Orange, I almost forgot, which is actually perfect because I was just about to say we needed a non-milk based coffee drink, and since that is served as an iced Americano spritzer, that is perfect. I was even gonna throw out a dirty wassail vibe as our final drink, but I forgot I did that, so we're perfect. I think a 3-drink menu for a coffee shop is the perfect amount for a seasonal menu. It gives you 3 different vibes. So the Rosemary Vanilla, it's gonna be a bit more woodsy, floral, herbal. You have the Gingerbread, which is a bit darker, spiced, molasses. And then you have the Cranberry Orange that's bright, citrusy, fun, fruit-based. And the Cranberry Orange also helps to be a iced spritzer Americano kind of vibe. So you've got 3 kind of different vibes going on. If I were to add more to this menu, I'd figure out a way to make pear work. A little sad that that's not worked. Other flavors we could pull from our archives, which all of these recipes are on our home coffee handbook, so check the link in the description for that. You can get all these recipes even though we didn't make them in this video. But some other flavors you could throw in here. We did a pecan syrup that I really liked. It was more for Thanksgiving, but I think it could work for Christmas too. We could also throw in peppermint mocha. I know it's a little Starbucksy, but we have a recipe for a cappuccino. It uses real chocolate, real candy cane peppermint. It's super good actually. Even if you kind of consider yourself more of a coffee snob, I still think you're gonna enjoy this peppermint mocha, at least for what it is. You know, every once in a while, I don't want a macchiato. I want a peppermint mocha. That's okay. It's a crowd pleaser if you're at a coffee shop. The nice thing about the peppermint mocha is you can do it as a hot chocolate too if there's people that don't want coffee. That would also be great with the cranberry orange syrup, is that you could do it as a soda essentially. If you serve it with sparkling water or club soda or tonic, whatever, it would be super delicious. For those non-coffee drinkers, you gotta have those. Those 2 making 5 total kind of syrups kind of muddy the waters, almost gives too many options. So I think we're going to go this as our final menu. So to repeat, our final menu will be a rosemary vanilla latte, hot or iced, a gingerbread latte, hot or iced, and then a cranberry orange Americano spritzer. That is what my winter menu would be if I had a coffee shop. I don't. But if you're a coffee shop, feel free to steal all of this. There's even recipes for you in the description. We're here to help you, or if you're at home and you want to make fun, holiday, winter themed coffee drinks at home, you can make them just as good as a coffee shop, and hopefully you learned how. Comment down below if you have any ideas on how to make any of this menu or these syrups better. We love the feedback and we want this to be collaborative. We want to continue to make delicious things. And if you're still watching, please subscribe. It means that you actually like watching this content. And there's gonna be plenty more of it. So, comment, subscribe. See you next time.